Hello and welcome to Gamers Table, a discussion of tabletop role-playing games and other topics related to the gamer subculture. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike. This is Mark.
This is Dan.
This is Shannon.
This is Dave.
And I'm Sean.
I like that Dave tries to act excited and unlike me.
I try. I'm filling in for Jason. You know.
Yeah. He did text in and said, "This is Jason."
Oh, well, there he is.
He's with us. Right. Eric, what are we talking about this week?
This episode, we're going to talk about Droids, Warforged, and AI.
Now, actually, I want you to elaborate a little bit more the text you sent out, because the first half of the text, in my mind, totally contradicts the second half of your text, which was that they're broken.
What I was talking about with that
Explain
text.
yourself.
Okay. Are non-living player characters broken by their essence? And the reason I say that is you have, let's say in Star Wars, we'll start it with droids. You have droids who are reprogrammable. You can substitute parts. You can essentially do whatever you want to with this character. And you still get some of the same perks as a regular player character. You still get feats. You still get, skills. You still level up, but yet you're not subject to some of the things that a living creature is, like life drain, things like that. Anything that would
ion damage. I mean,
yeah, you're also vulnerable to things that humans aren't vulnerable to. So,
see, because the first thing I thought of is that these type of characters are weaker because you can't heal them in a traditional way. You have to be repaired.
Right.
And repairing is time intensive,
as opposed to just being doused in a Bacta tank.
Exactly.
Star Wars.
And fantasy games, I use the Warforged as an example because in D&D, which it started in Eberron.
Yes.
I was going to say, I didn't get to play Eberron. I was always intrigued by the Warforged. So how do they deal with healing?
They have to be repaired also. And the Artificers, I guess, is a class that they have, instead of healing spells, they have mending spells.
Right. So they basically washed over it completely.
Right.
Yes.
But when you have something that is not living, okay, we always tease Mike and say that he would always play Dr. Theopolis because, he would just be the computerized brain.
Yes.
The brain in the jar.
Big Ben?
You played Big Ben. Big Ben was a brain in a jar. It was a robot.
He was a warjack for people who play.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a warjack.
He was a
for people
warjack.
who play War Machine.
Yes. And is it fair to have creatures like that mixed in with your regular creatures?
I love it. I love these characters.
You voted no on that already.
Yes.
When you benched my power suit.
Power suit's not.
You were a person.
Yes, but I was a quadriplegic, so it was almost a brain in a jar.
Well, you're talking about a power game character over. I'm talking the concept of a non-living character.
Okay.
See, I like. Sean has a Star Wars calendar up, and this is Grievous. He's exactly what we're talking about.
He's a head and a heart and some lungs.
And I don't think he was.
He's not much different than Big Ben.
Agreed, but I don't think he's super powerful.
Okay.
He was trained in the Jedi arts.
His brain was.
I think he was trained in the lightsaber arts.
Well,
but you can program a machine to do essentially whatever you want it to do.
Yes.
And
that's not a benefit. If you are playing this character, you always have that, at least to me, whenever, because I would really like to play an android in Star Wars. I want to play an AI sentient battle droid. Because I love the battle droids for whatever reason. Maybe it's my love of skeletons. I don't know. But the thought is you are susceptible to a memory wipe. I mean, yeah, if you're playing a game, you can say, oh, you got amnesia to a regular character, but that seems not likely to happen. But that seems really likely to happen if you're a droid. Like, what's his name? HK97 from Old Republic.
HK-47.
47, one of the greatest droids of all time.
Yes. Murderous battle droid.
Exactly.
he was awesome.
I feel like, obviously I don't know anything about the subject, actually.
But you love robots.
I do love robots. In gaming, I have played Dungeons and Dragons, a short bit of Aces and Eights, and Sean played a sort of non-living thing.
Big Ben.
Big Ben. But I feel like it's all in how the GM handles it. If you know you're going to have a robot character or then have things specifically for him.
Girl droids.
Like putting it into what perspective? Big Ben was a robot man, a brain in a robot body, and was very susceptible to electricity.
Oh.
Doors. Yes, he could not knock down a door.
Not for the life of it.
Hell of a
Damn
tank you
robot
were.
couldn't do wood.
But he was very susceptible to electricity. So
Very.
the one time we were in an elaborate death trap, what was it?
Electricity.
Electricity.
Yeah,
That's
like
right.
giant
Giant Faraday
nothing.
cage kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, in that case, you would tailor things for something like that. The problem is sometimes in storytelling, if you're trying to tell a certain, the human aspect of a story, don't
be hating on robots.
That's right.
Well, I mean,
robots.
if you want to go into, you can go into the whole Asimov laws of the robot.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to hurt people, but then
The
That
Matrix
never works
happens.
out.
You
Exactly.
see iRobot?
Well, I like, so along your lines, so we're talking about storytelling, because I like parameters, right? That's how I like my characters. So to me, you can have an AI character with a really narrow scope of emotions, and that would be interesting to role play.
right, be like essentially you're playing.
Spock.
Like,
I was
kind
thinking-
of, I don't understand empathy.
I was thinking.
I understand kindness, but not empathy.
Yeah.
I don't care that you're in pain.
Well, you were
Well,
going
because a
on.
robot wouldn't. If you
Right.
think about
There are
it.
all kinds of, it's dictated by how you were programmed.
Right.
You say you're worried about that mind wipe, though. Not everyone can just walk up and do that.
True.
You don't know.
You know what I mean?
If I were a
Big
droid,
magnet.
I would always fear that.
This is
Big magnet.
big magnets, right? Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
my weakness.
Magnets.
Anytime you talk about artificial characters, though, the big one that I can always think of that if in the game situation you would never ever allow somebody to do it is to play Commander Data.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I don't really know what you're talking about.
Sure you do.
I understand he was on Reading Rainbow.
No, that was Jordy. That was Jordy LaForge.
So
jeez.
I truly don't know what the hell you're talking about. All right, wonderful.
No,
Oh, you're talking about the guy with all the homoerotic fanfic, Brent Spiner?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
or as I prefer to think of it, as Dr. Oaken from Independence Day. But no, Data was super fast, super strong, super smart, super duper, whatever, anything. But
was super
he couldn't
duper.
whistle. He couldn't whistle, and he couldn't tell a joke.
Yes, he
Not on
was
purpose.
he was the Star Trek Munchkin.
He really was.
That's what he was.
Interesting. Not really interesting to me, but
Because he could completely run the entire ship on his own.
There was an episode where I think they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did because the entire crew passed out due to lack of oxygen. So
Or something. And it was like they had plugged his ass into something, and he was the Enterprise, and he was doing everything.
Right. And that's, as a game master, that is what I don't want. I don't want.
do you think it's just crappy writing to make a guy like that, though? I mean,
Well, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
it's
it's.
Gene Roddenberry, so it was genius.
that hurt my brain.
we cannot get into a Star Wars, Star Trek argument here.
No, actually, it's in the bylaws of Gamers Table that we've actually overextended ourselves already.
God.
So sure, but you're still bound by the mechanics of your game.
Right.
You can always make a god character.
And I think that it's easier to make a non-life god character because you're not having to deal. You don't have to worry about starvation. You don't have to worry about breathing. You
That
don't.
has never in any of our games ever mattered. Like in the entire history of our gaming, I can never ever remember starving being a thing unless it's a plot hook vacuum, and they're going to do
Challenge accepted.
I beg to differ, Jeff.
but you remember it because it's the exception. You know what I mean? And you can do the same thing with a droid. Oh no, I'm running out of power. It's the exact same thing.
Oil can.
Eric just doesn't like robots, I think, is what we're getting down to.
I've run enough games where people want to play, and we've talked about this with your freaks, your geeks and oddball PCs. People want to play the goofy thing. Like I've mentioned before, we had a guy play a crystalline rock creature before in a D&D game.
Eric's
wasn't
the
me.
one that threw the Clockwork Man at me.
Yeah.
That was his idea.
But I wasn't running that game, sir.
I think it would be really
Well, true.
interesting to play a robot, like a learning AI at the very beginning. Like it was just made. And
Just got
so
a
it's
mind wipe?
completely,
It's like an infant.
It's completely like zeros and ones. It
So,
doesn't have it. And
Edie
just like
from Mass
slowly-
Effect.
Sure. I don't,
should
I
know.
don't know about your Mass Effects.
Oh, he's got a lot of Mass Effect.
Doozies.
Oh yeah.
I know
But
you
like,
have some.
just like learn, like this
I had this thought actually earlier when you were talking about the story of it. Like starting out as like this robot who doesn't know anything, and then like you learn empathy and you learn to be kind and you learn like you can't just go and kill people.
I don't think
Even
we've
if they're
ever
bad
learned
people.
that ever in any game.
Right.
No.
But
Yeah.
the problem with that is
You got to kill the right people.
That's right.
the problem with that is that has to become the focus of the story.
Yeah,
You know, because
Maybe that character's story.
a big but trying to run a game, a story, you know, if that's not the story you want to tell, then you've got to.
But okay, and we go down this road a lot. Your story as the game master is not necessarily my story as a player.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to the Woodside criticism. You know, it was like the game that we were trying to play had nothing to do with the story he was trying to tell.
Exactly.
Our role playing
I mean,
was
I
totally
understand-
incidental to his story.
I understand the GM has a larger burden to bear, but at some point in time, you kind of do have to let your players run with the ball. Otherwise they're not. Well, why are they there?
Right. That gets into a whole different can of worms.
Sure.
You know, it's
only ever going to be as bad. I mean, because your point is that robot characters are broken. It's only ever going to be as bad as your player is going to be, and it doesn't matter. If your player wants to be bad, he's going to be bad.
the other aspect of it is that I think that in a game group or in a game world, those kind of characters, unless you're playing some sort of like you said, Matrix or something like that, or you know, Star Wars is okay. Having multiples in one game group.
Think of it this way, Eric. It was when you first opened the show, you were talking about how robots, you know, have interchangeable parts and they could be reprogrammed to do different things. If you're a street samurai in Shadowrun,
Yes.
you have interchangeable parts.
You're basically a cyborg.
But
Eventually you can't.
and I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about that because there is a rule that once you reach 0 essence,
you're no longer alive.
You're a cyber zombie and you become an NPC.
Yes, but at 0.01, you're still human.
Yes.
And you're still basically a cyborg.
Yes,
you know.
cyborgs. I don't see. I. This is where we're differing. Cyborgs and non-living characters are two totally different things to me.
I think they're very. I mean, to me, they're very, very, very close.
I mean,
Well, and I
Sean's
think it
character.
depends on your definition of life too.
Well, that's a whole deep subject too.
Well,
but that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah,
we
mine-
can't address that this late in the show.
Right. But I mean, well, it's like, are you talking Android? Are you talking robot, you know, where it's programmed to do one thing? Or are you talking about something that emulates human life in every essence and you can't tell the difference?
Are we talking about, you know, Data's brother Lore, who is flawless,
You know what?
essentially?
Even go simpler than that. Just go back to the robot from the first Alien movie.
Lance Henriksen?
Yeah. Just go back to that where, you know, she didn't realize that
Nobody
he
knew.
was an android until about halfway through the flick.
Did not serve him well.
No.
I'm just saying.
And he spent half the movie crawling through that duct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're not alive, you get stuck with all the shit
You get
jobs.
shit duty.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're never going to
You're
be
going out in the
claustrophobic.
airlock and working on. You're welding the outside of the
just
ship. Thanks.
just like Roy Batty. Yes, of course.
Oh, man.
See, I don't consider General Grievous an android.
He's a
Because
cyborg.
He's a cyborg.
Yeah, totally
Cyborgs
cyborg.
To me, cyborgs are completely different stories. Yes, Sean's character was a cyborg because he had a human mind. And I think that set him apart from,
What if the only part of your system that's human is
Your
a heart?
Johnson.
A heart.
What if the only part of you that is human is your pinky toe?
Still technically a cyborg. Because you have some
that's like
living
saying,
tissue.
well, that's getting into the whole Terminator. You know, is it a robot or is it a cyborg? Just because you have an outer skin covering doesn't make you a
Yeah.
actual cyborg.
Yeah, that's robot.
There I agree with Eric.
Mine was a mind. He thought and he had feelings and he could, you know, he liked things. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah,
But
preferences.
he was really into the beautiful things
Yeah.
of art and things like that because
He had a mind. Granted, that was it. There was no flesh on me anywhere. I didn't play it like a robot, but
Yeah.
And you don't have it. I mean, that's the whole point of playing artificial intelligence. Like how intelligent is it?
but I wasn't artificial intelligence.
Right. No. I mean, there will
Depends on the year.
probably come a time where human intelligence is vastly inferior to that of something that is quote unquote artificial. So,
Right.
I mean, where does humanity lie?
Right.
You know, and
In our creativity.
could be.
You would say that. You're an artist.
Well, no, but I mean, seriously, that's the thing when you look at a robot will analyze a specific set of parameters and make the best decision, out of
Based on its program.